This is Christoph Yalik.
This is Just Janet.
And this is K. Karl.
And this is
the Just Nuggets Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Just Nuggets Podcast. It is Sunday, May 5th. The Nuggets are just coming off of a loss to the Timberwolves in Game 1 of the semifinals. Christoph Yalik, how you feeling today?
Honestly, I'm feeling happy, slightly concerned, but confident nonetheless. How about you, Jays?
Jays are, it's just one game. I'm going to tell you, I heard that from several Nuggets players, Jamal, Peyton Watson, and sort of Joker. So I'm gonna take it with them until the champs go down. I'm gonna go with the boat. So.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the Nuggets still should, in a lot of ways, still feel confident. Just because, again, they defensively were pretty solid in the first half. They held them only to 41 points. It was that second half that got away from them. They let the Timberwolves score 33 points in both quarters. So they scored 66 points, and they ended up losing by 7, 106-99. Jamal really also didn't get going until the second half, which kind of hurt us a little bit. And so I know his calf he's dealing with a calf injury, but as far as just playoff basketball, everyone's a little banged up at this point. And he even said that in his interview, our post-game interview. So it's just about continue to stay true to who we are, because we did defensively play pretty solid for at least the first half of that game. So we got to just stay solid there.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this. We can get into it now, but none of us really expected this to be easy.
No.
At all. And each of us can talk about it. I'll just say this. I heard Jamal say it, and I totally agree with it on his press conference, that they probably was stewing all summer after they lost to us last year. And they only won that one game, and they were like, we're going to get them, and they think they're better. They didn't have Cat Cat came the last couple games or whatever in that series, or if he ever did.
They have Naz Reid.
They didn't have Naz Reid.
They didn't have Jalen. They have Jalen McDaniels last year, so they did bring back a few of those pieces that helped them get this game. Because as we'll talk about it, Naz Reid had a great fourth quarter.
Yeah,
killed us in the fourth, 10+ points. And he stepped up when Cat had just got his fourth or fifth foul.
Yeah. So
it was a good moment for Naz Reid to show, or at least for the Timberwolves to say, hey, we ain't the Timberwolves of last year.
But they were, his point, Jamal's point, and the point I agree with him on is they probably stewed all summer. We're going to get the Nuggets when we get there. If we ever get back to that point where we're in a series with them, we're going to knock them. We're going to knock them first. And that's what they did. And the Nuggets, they're quite ready for that. I mean, they were good until to me, they were fine. And I thought they would be fine. And I was looking for that last minute, do our thing, Nuggets, take care of this game. And we had opportunity to, but we just wasn't able to get it done.
I mean, coming into this series, I've said Nuggets in 7. I'm going to stick to that until it's Nuggets in 5, 6, now it's Nuggets in 7, or Timberwolves in 4, 5, 6, or 7. So it's gonna, Nuggets fans, buckle up. It is not gonna be easy. This could be a very bumpy ride, and you're on a plane and they say we're about to experience some turbulence,
Yeah.
And that's what you saw last night, is because they came in, they exerted themselves, and that's what you have to do if you're gonna beat the defending champion.
Yeah.
Is come in game 1, go punch them in the mouth.
No,
to Minnesota's credit, they came in and they punched us in the mouth.
That's what they did too from the beginning of the game, because the Nuggets actually started that game, I want to say 18-4. Like, they were down a good amount.
Yeah.
Rallied all the way back in that first quarter when you saw, okay, the Nuggets are who they are. Then in the second quarter, both teams kind of shot pretty poorly. And that's where you thought the Nuggets had the advantage. But it was interesting to see the Nuggets not close out that game the way they normally – because the Nuggets normally are good at closing out games. And last night, it kind of looked like that first quarter where they just didn't have it. Even in the closeout moments, they just didn't have it.
No.
And they tried to bring it together, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah. I just think that they weren't playing sluggish or anything. I wouldn't say that. I just think that they just did not give it the effort that was required to win that game, given the kind of caliber that team that was on the other side. That's what happened. You know, I bet you
And
that
unlike the
the energy
Lakers,
they gave at the end of that game would have probably beat everybody else, Lakers, whoever else.
yeah,
But
I
it
was gonna
was not
say,
beat them, the Minnesota
uh,
Timberwolves.
unlike the Lakers, they took advantage of the opportunity when the door was open, that the Nuggets left open, or that they kicked open with, like you said, getting out to that hot start. They had a sound strategy that says we're going to attack first. We're going to attack. We're going to have them playing from behind and passive at home. We're going to take out that building's energy. We're gonna be the one that's in control here. You know, the one that's going to dominate from the jump, and they did. And here's the fun part about the playoffs. It's all about adjustments, and we can go into that a little bit. But I think Coach Malone is going to have to channel his father a little bit, and what I mean by that is his father is famously Brennan Malone, was former assistant coach on the Detroit Pistons when they won back to back, and in the first run as well as the second run, they had to see Mr. Michael Jordan, and his father is the chief architect of what they started to call the Jordan rules. There was rules for other players, and then there was rules when they played the Chicago Bulls because they had to deal with number 23 in red. And I think we have to deal with number 5 in white. You know, him going for 43 and just having his way, getting down the whole step back jumpers, hitting the first 5 threes. He just was feeling it last night. So the Nuggets, specifically Coach Malone, he needs to channel his father and come up with something to just contain that gentleman and make Karl Anthony Towns, Conley, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid beat us.
But
And
here's the thing.
I did not put Rudy Gobert there because I
No,
still don't.
I knew you
They
wouldn't.
could beat us in 4, and I have no respect for Rudy Gobert because
Of
this
course.
dude got 32 put on your head last night. Do not forget that.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic is still Nikola Jokic down 0-1.
He just didn't have double for the
But
first
it don't
time
matter.
yet. He just didn't have a double. But here's the thing: before we go to adjustments, we need to talk about who's matching up how first, so we know what adjustments to be made against what we already saw. And so that's So Joker, you just started with him. He was seeing 3 people. He saw Gobert, he saw Cat, and he saw Naz. Okay, and so that's a lot. So one of the adjustments could be what?
Well, what do you say?
I say go get somebody off that bench that's big, tall. I mean, good or bad, maybe 5 minutes.
Like DJ?
DJ could do it. They may have to get
Zeke Nnaji.
Zeke Nnaji.
And I would say this. I think Zeke Nnaji could be a decent play here against Naz Reid because Peyton Watson is a little undersized for Naz Reid, and he's able to get around a little bit, even though obviously Peyton Watson wasn't guarding him in the fourth. But I could see Zeke Nnaji having some small minutes defensively that might be important just to neutralize some of those tall guys they have.
Yeah.
It might not be, and the other big adjustment, and Malone knows this, I don't know why he did it again last year, is no Peyton Watson, no CB lineups in the playoffs. Those ones just don't work. They don't score enough. It's not enough offensive scoring. And during those 19, when we scored 19 in that second half, it was largely because that lineup was in. They just weren't really doing anything.
Yeah.
The other thing I would do is Malone needs to get a better control of his rotations because it felt like too much in the first or second quarter. Jamal was out for a long period of time. It almost felt like Jamal ran a unit and Jokic ran a unit.
Yeah.
Continue.
Go ahead. No, you're good. I'll say that one was just interesting. I would kind of rather have them at least feed off of each other so they can get easier buckets.
Well, Reggie when he came in, he had a good 8 minutes or whatever, and then so did Holiday, and so they gave you because their plus minuses were plus, okay, and a lot of that didn't happen. Jamal's wasn't because he didn't have a good first, he didn't have a Jamal first half.
I was just gonna say the Nuggets are on alert now.
Oh yeah.
What they came in and they like I said punched them in the mouth. They now have confidence. When we had to come back for game 5 or come back for game 7, they have confidence that they can win in Denver because they just did. That's not going to be something that's holding over their head.
Unless the scenario is we win game 2, 3, and 4. So they wouldn't have that confidence. That's my point. We just need to do what we do.
No,
And
they
then
would have that confidence because
slowly
they
leaks
just did
out.
it. They just did it. They have the experience of going into
Yeah.
Denver on the road and winning. They
I think
did.
the Nuggets
They haven't lost yet this postseason. They're feeling very confident. Here's where the Nuggets, I have no doubt they will. They'll show championship resolve, the championship gall that they have. They just have it in droves. We're just got to see how much they have because
Well,
here we are. They're now on high alert that this team wants all the smoke. They have the players to do it, and we'll get into this a little bit later. They are designed to beat you. This is the only team that is actually designed to beat you. It kind of reminds me of that movie Logan. Remember when Logan, one of the Marvel characters, Wolverine, it was like later on in his life, and he had to deal with like one of these like mutants who was literally constructed to kill you. This is that mutant, and we're gonna need all the help we can get. If that's Zeke Naji coming off the bench and giving big minutes, and I say big minutes because he needs to be big, but like he just needs to use his size to slow down with the matchup issue that Naz Reid is.
Yeah.
Naz Reid is not a matchup issue for us. He's a matchup issue for every league because it's hard to match up with Minnesota across the board. They are just big. And then when you have a wing playing at the level that he's playing at, Mr. Anthony Edwards, it's hard. It's going to be very hard to stop, just straight up. So you're really hoping that you can funnel all the offense away from him. And I think that would be my adjustment and answer to your question.
All right. What about you, Dot?
I was going to say the Nuggets never were scared. I don't think the Nuggets ever didn't see Minnesota coming. I watched a lot of interviews. Michael Porter talked about Timberwolves a lot. He said that team's playing great ball. Jokic said it a couple days ago. The Timberwolves are a really great team,
and they were number 1 for a long time.
The notion that the Nuggets got punched in the mouth as if they didn't know this was coming, I don't think that's the case. I think
they knew it was coming. I never said that.
I know. I'm just saying. I think they haven't played a solid playoff game, and now they ran into a team that has played a bunch of solid playoff games, and they got punched in the mouth in that sense.
Yeah.
So the Nuggets need to play a full game still, a full Nuggets basketball game in the playoffs, and we should be able to get game 2. If not, you're going to find yourself down 2-0 and having to go still both in Minnesota.
Heaven forbid.
But I see a good chance that they should be able to get back to. They should be able to get 1-1. 1-1's good, and then you're just in a series. If you get 1-1, you're just in a series. You gotta win one. Now you gotta go get one in Minnesota. Now you're just fighting.
What if they lose game 2?
Well, then they're still in a series. It's just that they gotta go get both in Minnesota.
Now
that's happened multiple times. What was that series a couple years ago or last year where teams only won on the roads?
Yeah.
So the Nuggets I'm not scared I wouldn't be scared for the Nuggets unless they were down 3-0. You know what I mean? As long as the Nuggets are in a series, I think they'll be all right because they have, like you said, they have that championship pedigree.
Jays, I have a question for you or a statement. I want to hear your response.
Yeah.
This series already off rip kind of reminds me of that Portland one in 2019 in the second round. Obviously, the Nuggets have a lot more experience, and even that is some experience they can lean on. Yeah. But I believe I'll go back and look at it. I think Portland took game 1 or game 2 in that series as well.
Yeah.
And we'll have to go that far. Yeah, Miami did it.
Yeah, that was
Miami took game 2.
Yeah. So
I think Portland took game 1 because the reason I jogged my memories because we were at that game. And Portland won. And then the Nuggets tied it up, and then they started, kind of doing their Nugget thing, and they were up 3-2 eventually in that series. But in that case, you had to deal with bigs. I still don't like them till this day, but Miles Leonard and dude who's now, I've literally just have forgotten his name because I put it out. Zach Collins, yes, and Enes Kanter. So you had to deal with their bigs. You had to deal with Evan Turner, who was kind of shifty, big size. Obviously, the Nuggets have turned, they're different lineups at this point, but same kind of deal where they had to deal with this. And then they had to deal with Dame Lillard at the height of his power, And so that would be the series I'm pointing to as this is kind of similar. Hopefully we go, I want to go Nuggets in 7, and it's gonna be a close game 7. But at this point, and hearing you speak, hearing myself talk aloud, Nuggets just need to get game 2. If we just
Yeah.
get game 2,
Maybe
at
we'll be back on
at
track.
any cost, at any
Yeah.
cost.
Maybe the never come
I
on.
don't
Here,
care
I'll
if
read-
it's a game. I don't care if it's a game winner. I don't care because somebody got kicked out. I don't care about excuses. Just get game 2.
Here, I'll read you Timberwolves scoring outputs. Jaden McDaniels had 0 points. Cat had 20. Rudy Gobert 6. Anthony Edwards 43. Mike Conley 14. Alexander Walker 5. And Naz Reid 16. Or I guess Kyle Anderson had 2 points too. But what are some of those players that I know is going to be some form of output either way? But who are some of those people that you're looking at and you're like that was a lot from them?
I think it was a lot from Anthony Edwards. I know people would argue with me, but I think 43 is not going. He's not going to play.
There got to be adjustment to get him down to the 30 or 20 range.
I just think 43 was a lot, and I think it's 43 was a lot because he came in with a lot of energy, and they said he was waiting for us. He was waiting for this day, probably been thinking about it a long time, and he did it. So what happens when you expend that energy? I'm just talking about in anyday life. That energy is now expended. You got to get that back up the next time, and then you got to do that 3 more times. And so my point is, and Nuggets are learning, and Nuggets are mad, and Nuggets lost at home, so they should have some energy coming into game 2. So I really do expect them to win game 2.
And you're looking at a lot of players that have lost to the Nuggets a bunch of times in series. Rudy Gobert has lost to the Nuggets multiple times. Mike Conley.
Yeah.
So Mike Conley had 14 and 10. So we got to cut that oxygen off a little bit too.
14 and to correct myself,
the
Blazers won game 2. So like Miami.
I thought I heard that. No, we hadn't gotten beaten game 1
since Golden State.
Yeah, for a long time. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I just think that we're in a series. We're the world champs. If you want to repeat, don't let your fans be more excited about repeating than you are the players are. Yeah. Okay. So the players should say, we want this if the same, if not more than our fans do, because we're the ones playing. Yeah. And they should come on out and do what they do because they're more than capable. And now it would be different if they're not capable. Yeah. They're the best. People have said this, and they saw Minnesota, and they've seen OKC, and they've seen Boston. They still have said, many people, we have the best starting 5 in the NBA. So prove it.
And Christoph, to the point, we did call this the Clyde Drexler year, and we'll talk a little bit about the actual getting Clyde Drexler on the team part of it. However, Houston went through a lot in that second year to get that championship. It wasn't just an easy run. And we said that from the beginning of the year. This Nuggets championship was never going to be as easy as last year. It was going to have to work harder because our bench is not the same as it was last year. We don't have Bruce Brown.
Don't have Jeff Green.
I'm going to tell you, to be honest, that game this year, if we had Bruce Brown, we still win that game because Bruce Brown can now guard one of those guys that's going off.
Yeah. That's
what we lost in Bruce Brown. It's like not only did we lose his scoring output, but he was locking players down. So now we're relying on Christian Brown to take that giant step that he needs to in this playoff. Who actually had a good game. Like Christian Brown was not bad. He wasn't the issue. He had 7 points, 2 rebounds. So he was like not terrible. Like he played pretty well. KCP, if we can get you up to the 10 range, I think in this series, like we can't have a game where all our starters don't go over 10 points.
Right.
So AG only had 9 points. KCP only had 6 points. And I know they're the guys that are the primary defenders guarding the harder guys. So there might be some days where they can't get there, but we have to figure out a way to get them still their 10 points.
Yep.
We got to get their 10 points. And Jamal only had 17. So like if you look at the stats, like you can see the Nuggets, certain players that we normally get more output from, we just didn't get from.
Jamal has been consistently in the middle 20s.
Could you say that on the other side, that's credit for Minnesota? Would you say at all that could be credit for Minnesota? Minnesota
or his cap,
is
or
the
his
best
cap.
defensive player.
Or the
They're the best defensive rated team in the NBA.
You can always give the credit to them as defense, but that's one game. I'm saying the Nuggets, we're talking about adjustments. Of course, yes, if this keeps going down the line of path, then you can just say, yeah, Minnesota locked us up. But I'm saying in order for us to win this series, here are the adjustments I'm seeing that we need to make. There's definitely more room for KCP to get going. Even if it's a couple more threes, a couple corner threes, even if he gets to 10 to 11 points, that's big. AG, obviously, he's in there not only guarding Anthony Edwards, but he's also having to go against Cat and them that are all 6-foot guys.
Yeah.
But he's gonna have to figure out a way to knock down that corner three. And the Nuggets, I think what another thing that Timberwolves did really well was that they blocked that dunker spot very well with Rudy Gobert. Because I know Jokic turned the ball over like 6 or 7 times. And one of the turnovers he had late in the game was trying to throw a quick alley-oop, and he just couldn't do it against Rudy Gobert. So either Jokic is going to have to fake that more so it's there, or go to the hoop and just score it, you know?
Yeah. And then the other thing about Joker, he tried a 3 9 times, okay, which is I mean, it's not a lot if he was making them, but that was a lot. You know why he was doing it? Because he was so far out from under the rim. So he's got to move his game up a couple feet closer to that basket, and that would help too. So I think that's the adjustment that Joker has to make.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of adjustments. And Minnesota, they haven't lost yet this postseason. They're 5-0, you know, so they don't really have a chink in their armor at this moment. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to kind of figure out where their weaknesses lie.
But who better than us to reveal them? That's all I'm saying. Who's going to reveal them but us?
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, and that's why I'm putting more emphasis on Coach Malone to come up with devise a strategy. Now you've seen, I always feel more confident after seeing how the series would look. Last season it was Phoenix. I wanted to see how game 1 looked, so how we looked against them on the same court. I now see how Minnesota and the Nuggets match up. I would say that Minnesota just has more depth. That's really what this comes down to. So we now have to Kyle's point, we have to out strategize them, and we got to put them in a way, because if we go toe to toe, depth for depth, we will lose this series. We don't have Bruce Brown. We don't have, last season we could just depth you to death, you know, and that's why they only lost 4 times, because they were just significantly better than every team they played. This one has got to be above the shoulders. It's got to be above the shoulders, and it's got to be the strategies and adjustments in game and between games that are being made. And to finalize my little soapbox I have going on here, Kyle, you are 100% correct. This is our Clyde Drexler year. I believe they went to 6 or 7 in 3 or 4 of those rounds, straight up. Yeah. And including, they had in the Western Conference Finals, we're not there yet. They had to come back from 3-1 versus Phoenix. Yep. So, and they had to win Game 7 on the road. So, yes, we're in a barn burner. That's all it really is. We're not gonna go 16-4 this postseason. Sorry to break it to some of these Nuggets.
But you know what? I mean, if we had those high standards, we were just mistaken. And the reason why is anybody's trying to do a repeat of anything, something's going to change, okay? If not a lot. And in here, we had massive changes to our bench, and we had massive changes to the other teams getting better. And I know we're going to talk about this in our late segment, but there's reasons why we find ourselves here, and we'll talk about that later.
I'll say last point for me is that as much as people are sounding alarms and saying Timberwolves are this team and that team, I just think the Nuggets didn't execute well down the stretch. If you just literally look at that game, the Nuggets were right there the whole time. 90 points, it was like 99, 90. I mean, it was 90, 90 the way through. What's the name? I think Naz Reid hit a 3 in the corner. Jamal came back, hit a 3, and got an and 1. The Nuggets were right there. The execution down the stretch was just not great. And and again, it goes to the point the Nuggets just haven't put a full game together in a lot of times throughout the series. But I don't think it was necessary that the Timberwolves did anything special. I think Naz Reid had a nice flurry that helped get Anthony Edwards back. Like now Anthony Edwards, I just got 10 points from Naz Reid. I can get going in this fourth quarter now too. But I just don't think. I think you can sound the alarm, but I think if the Nuggets just connect a certain couple things, like cut down on the turnovers, fix up some of those rotations, and then obviously maybe put in what's his name, a DeAndre Jordan or a Zeke there, I think they can get game 2. It's that close. Like it's not the Timberwolves are doing a lot more like a lot of different things better than Nuggets. There's just the small things the Nuggets didn't do right in game 1.
And as good as they are defensively, them being Timberwolves, Nuggets held them. I mean, even though Ant got 43, but everybody else was held at bay generally. Okay, till Naz broke out of his handcuffs at the end. But Conley hitting this, I bet you look at his record over several games, he's probably doing that. We just
Jays,
slowed
I've
everybody down enough or long enough. We slowed down Naz, but not to the 48 minutes. And there goes.
Last point. This is also a Jamal Murray series. So him not getting 17 hurts us too, because he has the matchup.
Getting 17.
Him giving 17 hurts us because he has the matchup against Conley. He has to go get 20, 30 points a game. That has to be his job. Even with a calf injury, we saw what he did against the Lakers in game 5, or whatever that was, game 5. So Jamal, this is his series because Jokic is going to be tied up down there with the bigs. Aaron Gordon is going to be tied up around with the bigs. Michael Porter and Jamal Murray can really cook this Timberwolves team, and they have to rely on that as well.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, before it happens, I have another question I want to ask you, the Jays, but before it happens, Nuggets fans, this is my call to you. You're gonna see in the next few days, especially tomorrow, that the national media is gonna just jump
They've
off
already
ship.
started. They've already started.
They don't care about us.
No,
They're happy that this little thing we had, this little social experiment is over. Let Nikola get his 3rd little MVP, and let's anoint Ant.
They have
Let's anoint him because he's a
They
wing.
have.
He's a wing guy who can jump out the gym and can shoot. That's what we love. We don't love
he's an American.
big, and he's American. We don't love
Not
big
international.
Serbian dudes who just look gangly and give 32, 8, and 9, whatever he had last night, or have a bad game and it's 20, 20, and 8, or was it 25, 20, and 8, So they were never really with us. We had to force them into submission for them to respect us.
Well, because we won the NBA Finals championship, world championship. That was us. And so they had to. They didn't have a choice. They had to say the Nuggets, and every time they had to say, who won last year, there we are. Now, though, since we got beat at home, game 1 against a team that they think is big enough and talented enough, they're going to go crazy until we prove them wrong again.
Because here's what it is: the Clyde Drexler year, it's all about heart. It's all about strategy. That's what's baked into Clyde Drexler year. It's not going to be, we're going to beat every team. We haven't beat a team by a lot in a long time. You know what I mean? That's not what this team is. It is 6 or 7 people who have the weight of the world and weight of this fan base on them to get it done. Because as each one of us 3 knows, and the listeners listening and the non-Nuggets fan listeners all know, is that this team is fully capable of beating Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, my question for you, Jays, we're not going to tape until after game 2. So what conversation are we having if the Nuggets are down 0-2?
I don't want to have it. I mean, I want to have it when we need to have it. I'm not going to do that. I will say I will have it that we will be up 1-1 because I have every confidence that they want. I just said it already. Do they want it as much as the fans want it? And I believe they have to have. I mean, like Joker said, I want to stay on parade. Or Jamal, the one thing he wants to do is be great, okay? And then MPJ has had the season of his lifetime, so why blow it now? And then AG, KCP, Michael Malone, that we're just ready to continue this ride. And so first step to that is to get this game and be mad that they took a game from you, not the first game in your house. I'm mad. Why can't you be mad?
That would piss me off too.
Well, the Nuggets do play tomorrow, so we'll tune back in and we'll see the Nuggets get this series back to 1-1. Let's switch a little bit to not Nuggets. Let's look at the landscape of the NBA playoffs as it is shaping up in the semifinals. You have the Knicks versus Pacers. You have Boston against the Cavs. You have OKC versus Dallas. What series looks the most enticing to you? Which one you are most likely to watch? And then let's go around the horn and give predictions on each series of what you think is going to happen and, how many games.
That Knicks Pacers one is going to be pretty darn interesting.
Yeah.
But the one I want to pay the most attention to is the West one. It's OKC and Dallas, because if anyone's listened to this podcast since Chet ran his mouth in November about my guy Nikola Jokic, I don't really mesh with OKC. I don't. And sadly, because they're a type of team I would normally like, but you talked about my man's, it's Venom energy. So this is time to put up or shut up for them. What you had was a nice little ride, but now you got to deal with two absolute dogs. Because Luka's playing out of his brain right now. Kyrie's playing absolutely well, and there too, he's not playing well. He's playing pretty phenomenally. So J Kidd has known what they're doing. Those splits. The Gafford looks great. As does what's my guy's name? PJ Washington. It's funny because I feel like Shaq. I didn't know he had that type of game. He was toiling in Charlotte. I did not know he was as nice as he is. So I would say that series is the one I'm circled.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say Nuggets Timberwolves because that's what I think, but Boston Cleveland, I think Boston should beat them because we saw or Orlando almost beat Cleveland, so I don't think that's a whole one. I mean, it's gonna happen, and I'm not saying they're gonna sweep, but they should. But Knicks Pacers, everybody in the world's gonna be watching. OKC Dallas. I've heard more people think that Dallas is gonna be OKC. I need to see game one, on that one. Maybe I'll pick that one and not the Nuggets, Timberwolves. But OKC, I need to see game one. If SGA and the crew take on Dallas and Kyrie, and they win game one at home, I know that's not a starting of a series because they say it never starts a series till you lose, on somebody's court or your own home court. But that's going to be good. I mean, I just want to see that. I really do.
Yeah, I would usually, for purposes of talking, maybe say a different point, but I'm with you two on this one. The one I'm most interested in is the OKC versus Dallas because I think it could go either way. I know we've been kind of talking about OKC as, maybe a year removed or anything like that, but you're literally in the final four of the teams in the West.
Yeah.
You have as much of a chance of winning as anybody. So, and you have the home court. If you can go get game 1 and 2, and you use that size that you have a little bit over Dallas in that sense, I think they could probably get that. So my predictions on each one, I got Boston. Part of me wants to say 5, but I'll say 6. I got Knicks in 6. I got OKC. I really want to bet on the young guys, but I'll say I got to see the game. That one I really have to see them step up. But I would, just based on it, let me say, I'll say OKC in 6. So I'm not really going on a limb. I think all these are going to go 5 to 6.
Well, Dallas, right. I think the only the bug in the fly ointment or whatever, Dallas, because Kyrie and Luka actually are buds. They have some chemistry going.
I wanted to say that. I almost said Dallas in 7, but I was like,
so I wouldn't be shocked if Dallas gets that series.
I say Dallas in 6, Nuggets in 7, Boston in 5. I'll be nice. Boston in 5, and Knicks in 6.
Yeah, because I think what's gonna happen with that Knicks series, the Pacers are a little bit more. They're more pesty than you think. You know what I mean? Like they actually can get going, and I think they could get that. I think they could shut up the Madison Square Garden at least one time. So I think that's why I say maybe 5 or 6.
Bro, they're gonna hate. They're gonna hate Halliburton.
Oh, Halliburton!
those Knicks fans are gonna be so mean to him, and he's a nice guy too. Like they're gonna be so rude. So I can't wait for the Knicks tape memes on Twitter, to be honest with you, because whatever they're gonna say and do, that's gonna just be bad. Here's the thing about that series that why I said it's sneaky, very interesting, is that I do think that Brunson is the best player in that series. But
yeah, he is. Okay.
They don't sometimes they get, when you watch the Knicks, like you're like, who's gonna score not named Brunson? If it's a wide open three, your boy Josh Hart can knock it down. DiVincenzo didn't have a great first round. Obviously they're missing Julius Randle. Obanobi, he's a D fast break transition type guy. So the one thing I know about Indiana is that they can just score the basketball.
Yep.
It's good things that your coach is Tom Thibodeau. He'll be able to slow him down a little bit. You would think on paper. And I just do think that the Knicks are just a better team. So I'll go with them in 6 there. And then, like I said, Boston, even without Porzingis, should beat the mess out of Cleveland.
Mhm. So
I know,
do you have
to
any
throw
word
really
about
fast, I did
Porzingis?
say that the Magic are to win in 6. So congrats to there's no hater stuff.
Blew that game.
Yeah, the Cavaliers won that one flat out. And
They
they played
turned that switch
excellently.
on that they had, and they just came from behind what, okay,
Donovan
Orlando's
Mitchell,
was up.
honestly.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the whole thing. Like the Cavs' whole offense is just Donovan go cook. So that's why I think when they go against Boston, they're gonna be in trouble because
In trouble.
Boston actually can.
They had the wing
put some
defenders.
stuff on you, yeah.
And then
Mhm.
you don't have to deal with he had a great series. Paolo. You don't have to you gotta deal with Jason Tatum. You gotta
Yep.
deal with Jaylen Brown. You gotta deal with
Drew Holiday.
they're not this ain't Orlando no more. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because Drew Holiday's gonna like Garland's gonna have a tough series in that one because Drew Holiday's gonna more or less be able to guard him.
Yeah. So that I just think
one of your
I think
options is
that's
gone.
gonna be the quickest series.
And then
Everything
double
else is gonna be
team
long.
Donovan. Yeah, that series doesn't. Honestly, Boston shouldn't lose that series at all. But
No.
that's it. So that one's it. The most intriguing, obviously, the most intriguing is Nuggets versus Timbs because that's just
There you go.
You're gonna be watching the best set of basketball right there. I think you're really watching. Whoever wins that is gonna be in the NBA.
And it's funny, as much as
I think whoever wins the NBA finals.
Yeah, well, as much as we picked it apart, the first segment of this pod, it was a really good game. I mean, any of those teams would have beat, most of these teams what we're talking about, I think. So, they just happen to be at this level and not at the Western Conference Final level because they were 2s and 3s. So on the rankings, but
no, that's about it. Any last points on the rest of the NBA at large, Christoph?
Safe travels down to Cancun for the Magic.
Or fishing or whatever it is.
Joel Embiid is the only MVP to never make it to a conference finals.
Yeah, that's not lost on me.
And then LeBron, whether he continues to string him along, if he's going to stay or go, that'll be all summer. We'll be hearing that.
I would like to shout out my boy Anthony Davis. He should be about 5 cocktails deep by now. Some pina colada somewhere on some tropical beach.
Yeah.
Who else?
You said Joel and Max.
We let him off the hook again. We almost let him off the hook, but Chris has got our memory. OKC, by OKC I mean Paul George.
Oh yeah.
James Harden.
Playoff P.
And Kawhi Leonard, my former.
Why are you dropping names? Pat Bev, because Pat Bev was talking all that mess against the Nuggets.
My God.
And he's gonna be.
And he went out. He's gonna be podcasting the Nuggets, and no, I'm not subscribed to your dad.
He acted the ASS too,
bro. That was so bad. It's like I think that those behaviors and that incident that night was the most. Like it turned everybody who was kind of like, they're like, whatever, Pat Bev, shrug them off. Now we're looking at you. Now you're like, Pat Bev, like, why are you the way you are? You haven't won a championship. You've never been the top guy. You're a role player, and you behave in such a way, in such a manner that was just classless at the end of the day. It makes me think about when you pushed Chris Paul a few seasons ago, and then celebrated a play-in win like you won the NBA championship. You know what I mean? So I can't necessarily go there with him on that, and that's kind of sad, but enjoy it. But back to Paul George and James Harden, they gotta do something. And I say blow it up because it started with the 3-1 loss to us in the bubble, right? And they scapegoated, for rightfully so. He had overstayed his welcome a little bit, Doc Rivers, but they kept the core in place. This year they go get James Harden, and it just still looks clunky a little bit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And Brody on there too. So it's just, I think you just need to rework it. It just needs to be reworked. I don't know.
You gotta keep. I'd say you keep Paul George, and if you can keep James Harden, keep him. Kawhi Leonard.
I would say Kawhi's the piece that needs to move.
Yeah, I'd say Kawhi probably would be the one to go, just because he's not all that healthy all the time.
He would never do it, but Kawhi back to San Antonio
or Toronto
or Denver.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets could use
Kawhi
any of these guys. I would, if they blow it all the way up. I said it. I would love to have James Harden run our second unit.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be nice. And
I don't
say
know if it's
now,
gonna happen, but...
you say no about Kawhi coming to Denver, but we sure could use him now on our bench.
If James Harden comes to the Nuggets over the offseason, he just bought himself an NBA championship, bro.
Yeah. Anybody who comes to the Nuggets this offseason, but I don't want to jump the gun on the next point I was about to say. Anybody who comes to Denver Nuggets in this offseason is going to be in proper alignment for NBA championship. The only thing stopping this back-to-back from happening is the Minnesota Timberwolves, straight up.
Well, we'll get into that. Let's go to the 2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes remaining.
Speaking of two, Tim Connelly has been the GM of both the Nuggets and the Timberwolves in this series. Helped build the Nuggets to where they are. Obviously, Calvin Booth took it over last year, brought some key pieces in, brought KCP in, and he brought in Bruce Brown, brought in DeAndre Jordan, and Jeff. Well, he didn't bring in Jeff Green, and was able to take us to the NBA championship and cement what Tim Connelly kind of started. He was able to cement it and win his own championship. With that being said, now we're at a standpoint where we're watching two teams being built. And I guess the conversation is, what do you want to say? Like, what do you think Calvin Booth is? What do you think, Calvin Booth or Tim Connelly? Who do you think is the better GM in that sense?
I just have a question before I answer. Christian Brown, then they draft them? Yes. Okay, so he brought in a Calvin Booth, was rolling, okay, until 2023, 2024, when we sat pat at the beginning of the year. And we said, we're going to get somebody. He's just trying to see what we got and what we don't have and what we need and all that. And then we get to the All-Star game break when, right before when we could have gotten someone, and we did not. We didn't change a thing. And we proceeded to say we were, grooming or developing or, the youngins that we have. And that's fine in 82 games, but not in the playoffs.
Well, I was saying, and they proceeded not to even pick anybody up during the waiver wire either.
Nope, they didn't do that either.
Because we could have easily I know the Lakers got Spencer Dinwiddie, but the Nuggets easily could have got Spencer Dinwiddie.
We could have got him. We could have got Gallinari. We could have got Monte Morris. We could have got somebody. But, we didn't. I'm just saying, just throwing out names. We didn't. So that's what I have to say about Calvin Booth. Here's what I'm going to say about Tim Connelly. Good on you, because you knew what can slow down a train is three of them, I guess. You have, Embiid, you have Cat, and you have Naz. Ball.
Not Embiid.
I'm so sorry. Gobert. I'm so sorry. Embiid on the brain. Gobert. And that's what it looks like. It's slowing down Joker for game one. Let's hope Joker figures it out. You talking about being strategic? I got my money on him. Okay.
Yeah, never bet against a fat boy.
Don't bet against that fat.
Don't bet against a fat boy.
No.
I would say Conley did look at that 2020 bubble season with the Lakers, looked at how the Lakers were constructed with all those bigs, and said the only way I'm gonna beat these Nuggets is if we can throw three different almost 7-footers type of.
Yeah.
That is the formula that has worked against this Nuggets.
Yeah, and the Portland team I said from earlier. When you just have three big bodies, you can just throw at the Nuggets.
Give them different matchup looks. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not even about it's not like they're actually cooking Jokic. It's just like, okay, Rudy Gobert is giving a defensive player of the year look. Naz Reid is giving a totally different look. Cat is giving hacker look like he's
Yeah,
getting everything.
Because last night he had 5
Yeah.
fouls and he almost darn it fouled out.
Cat
Playing with
Cat
He's
played
playing
that-
the Miles Leonard,
Yeah.
Dwight Howard role.
Yeah, Dwight Howard. Yeah, Cat was playing the Dwight Howard role.
Yeah,
Just fouling.
he was just
But that
fouling.
also goes into strategically going against Jokic because you're getting him pissed off. You're like, dude, Jokic getting fouled. He starts talking to the refs more, and he's
But that-
that actually plays a part in.
But that's a part of building the team that
Yeah.
way. So to your point, historically, I've never been a Tim Conley fan. If you listen to this podcast at all, you know Christoph Yalik does not like Tim Conley. But this season, I have to say I've gotten more credit to him. You know, I don't miss him. I will never say that. He helped do a lot to get a championship here, but he did not bring the championship. That was Mr. Calvin Booth, and I will get to him in a second. But Tim Conley, he's done a great job, and he literally built this team. Although he inherited Ant, he inherited some of those other people, Cat included, Naz Reid, but he made that trade that was huge because he knew exactly what it was, and he only had one team because he's not stupid. He's like us. He knew as soon as he left Minnesota or left Denver that Denver's probably going to win a championship in the next 2 to 3 years. He knew that immediately leaving. He knows what was in that building. He knows what he built or helped build. And he just knew they were a couple tweaks away from getting to where they got, right? So that's why he made that big move and pulled the trigger, because he's like, in order to stop the best team in the NBA, who's also in our division and also in the West, we can't win until we get past that. So that's what he did. He went out there and constructed this behemoth team that we now face. And to his credit, and to no one's credit other than his own, Anthony Edwards has ascended to top 5 players in the NBA. Last year, after that series, Dot and I were like, yo, this dude's coming. He's coming. Straight up. We already know he's coming. I didn't think he would arrive. You know what I mean? Like, this dude ascended.
But he
where he's
arrived
at.
after the after the World Championship.
Yeah.
Because,
No Diddy too.
you know, he he arrived after the World Championships because we didn't win that. We took what, 3rd spot?
Mm-hmm.
So
But he just climbed out of the mud.
I
So
guess.
that brings me to the final point. As I've gotten respect for Tim Conley over the course of the season, I've lost all respect for Calvin Booth, because
come on, Christoph.
I am the
All
only
respect?
thing. The only thing you did was have a great offseason. You had one great offseason, brother.
Won
But
a
the fact
championship
you
with it.
didn't know, he did win a championship. But the fact you did nothing. The reason we are in this situation, if the Timberwolves beat us, it's because of one person. Straight up.
But
You guys
you know
can be
what
like,
else I
oh, there's
think-
so
you
much
know what
more.
else
The
I
players
think
are
you have to
no.
add to
Stop
that?
that.
You
It
have
is
to add
Calvin
money.
Booth's fault. It is Calvin
Money.
Booth's fault. We don't go back to back. It
I
is
think
Calvin
it's
Booth's
money.
fault. It is Calvin Booth's fault. We don't go back to back. The
M-O-N-E-Y.
only people that stop us is Calvin Booth and the
People,
Minnesota
yeah.
Timberwolves.
But Money stops you too because he just didn't have the cash, or he couldn't go past the cap,
You
or
could
you know any of that. Or he wanted to save it to pay the Joker, MPJ, or Jamal Murray.
You have to do something. Everybody else did something.
Or
You have
KCP.
some of the richest. You have
Or
some of the
KCP,
richest owners.
yeah.
You have some of the richest owners in sports, and you're about to waste a year. You gotta turn on the back burners. You gotta go into debt. Do something to win when the winning is supposed to be won. You gotta get it done, and you're
Sure.
gonna blow an opportunity because you're acting like we're on this like rebuild. You are in the championship window, bro. You're in the championship hurricane. You're in the eye of the storm. Take advantage of it while it's here. It does not last forever. I've been a Nuggets fan all my life. I know that we're in the best of days right now. And I don't want to go back to the worst of days. And I think we're going to stay here for a little bit. But when you have it, you have to take advantage of it. And this dude did not take advantage of it. And he's going to single-handedly screw us if we don't win the championship. Because we're seeing right now that we don't have the depth to deal with Minnesota.
I get you. Definitely could have made some moves, so I'm not gonna disqualify that. I do agree with Jay's that there obviously were some money issues that probably went into it, but he could have made some trades all season. At that trade deadline, could have also picked up a free agent that would have helped, or a waiver wire. So all that included, that goes to your point, Christoph. I mean, I hate to go on a tangent, but when the Chiefs were going through it, I was the first one saying Brett Veach needed to make some moves, get some receivers. He never really got too many receivers. So I do understand what it feels like to have a championship window and not go get it. But this Nuggets team, regardless, is still good enough to win a championship. So that's why I don't say it would be.
Right there,
I wouldn't
Karl.
say that's Brett Veach's fault. I mean, I wouldn't say that's Calvin Booth's fault. The Nuggets are good enough, and they're here right in this moment to go get these games.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna let you finish your point, but I just need to make a correction, Chiefs fan. Brett Veach did one thing.
I know
he
you're
did
gonna say
one
Miko.
thing. He made a trade for Miko Hardman. And
caught
guess who caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, Jays? Who caught it?
Yeah, the one he got.
The one move he did. So even if you made one move, Calvin Booth, one move.
He brought in Justin Holiday, bro. Don't sleep on him yet.
And he did good. He was a plus in yesterday's game. So
if Justin Holiday turns into Ant-Man, I will never say another bad word about Calvin Booth.
If he hits a clutch couple games,
scores, couple threes,
that'd be great for us. But go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna we're shorthanded, okay. Just generally across the board, with Jamal being a little bit nicked up and KCP a little nicked up and all of that. Everybody just needs to elevate their game all across the board. If you could just elevate it some, I'm not even telling you to do a lot, because from what I saw yesterday, some would have won that game. Okay, so just between today and tomorrow, because you play tomorrow, this is Sunday, you're gonna play Monday. Okay, elevate your game. We win that game, and then we take it a day at a time, a game at a time. That's it.
Feel free to throw eggs at me. I think the Nuggets might be down 0-2.
We'll see. I don't think so, but we shall see.
Which Nuggets team do you think will show up? I guess that's my question. If you think they're going to be down 0-2.
The one that's been showing up for 6 games now.
Well, then we will be down 0-2. If they don't show up in the first quarter with any energy, and we're down like we were in the first game of this one, then yeah, we would be down 0-2.
I think the Nuggets are coming back with like a 3-1 in this one. I think the Nuggets they're not gonna activate until they're fully back to the wall.
No, you don't think it's back to the wall now?
I think he might be negative.
I think the Nuggets could go down 0-2.
Oh god.
I think they're gonna win game 3.
Oh my.
I think they're gonna lose game 4, and they're gonna be staring at 3-1.
So now we're 3-1.
I know, and I think the Nuggets are gonna come back.
I like what Jay said. You take game by game. I think the Nuggets have all the right to make the adjustments they need to. I'm telling you, if you watch that game, Christoph, the Nuggets did not get blown out in that game.
No, they didn't.
It wasn't like the Timberwolves were much better than us as a basketball team. Naz Reid had a good quarter, but outside of that, they weren't. There's nothing we did. Like that first strategy right there was like, all right, Ant, you go get your bucket. Someone else got to beat us.
Yeah.
And it just so happened Naz Reid beat us. But that they can make adjustments to fix some of that stuff. So I don't see the Nuggets not getting at least one game.
They played their best game. Their best star got 43. Okay, what? He gets 50? That's only 7 more points. That's Naz holding Naz Reid out. So we've seen when 2 superstars, Katie Booker, scores like lights out, right? And they win those games, but then they can't do it consistently for another several games. And that's what I'm betting on. I'm betting on that. And I'm betting on Nuggets, who hasn't put a game together yet in a series, will do so. Okay.
Yeah. And think about like this, Christoph. Naz Reid can get his 16 again, but if it's spread out through 4 quarters, that's way different.
Yeah, it is.
That 10 flurry was a huge lift for them.
Yep.
It absolutely was. My thing is this. Will this activate him? And what I mean by will it activate the Denver Nuggets? That's the question. And I said, I know 3-1 might activate him. I know that'll activate him because you can't lose anymore.
I think losing
at home on game 1 activates him. I pray you're correct.
I believe so.
I pray you're correct.
I believe so.
The only other option is going down 0-2 at home. Will that activate him? Because I feel like Slim Shady right now with the true Denver Nuggets. Please stand up. I
don't think the Nuggets can really afford to go down. I mean, I'm not saying they're done if they go down 0-2. I just don't think the Nuggets can afford to go down 2-0 out to Minnesota.
No.
They have to go figure out how to win this one. Even if they got to dig deep, they got to figure it out.
I kind of already touched on it, but this is just a word of advice for you two, as well as every Nuggets fan listening to this, especially the ones that are in America. Do yourself a favor. Don't even listen to national media until the
No,
series
don't
is
do it.
over.
Don't do it.
Just don't listen to them
Don't do
because
it.
they're gonna only have hater stuff to say the entire
I
time.
don't even think they have hater
So-
stuff. They just bandwagon jumped over to Minnesota. Even the ones that were kind of like, no, I think Denver's going to win this, and but like they bandwagon
Well,
jumped.
they all hate the Nuggets.
Keyshawn Johnson on Fox. This is when what I just said. I'm just not listening to no national media this series. It was when Kyle Dot sent me that clip he said on, what was that, Friday or Thursday of last week. He said, Jays, this man really had the audacity to get on national TV and ask the questions like, what, besides winning an NBA championship, what experience do the Denver Nuggets have that Minnesota doesn't?
He's a football person. Come on now. I mean,
besides winning a championship,
like
let's not even get into the part about experience for experience. You know, the team that went, came back from 3-1 2 times. You know, the year before that they had 2 Game 7s, lost one at home. Experience. So I'm just trying to figure out your.
But what might
that was CTE logic, brother.
But what might be good in this now that you're saying all this? We might play better from behind or being a little bit of an underdog or being a little bit of a wounded spirit kind of thing because everybody's dumping on us. We may play our best, and that's what I'm hoping for. Whatever works, whatever motivates.
That's the other activator thing I was saying. If they're down 0-2 or 3-1, now your back is solely to the wall. Everyone's jumped off your bandwagon. You're on the road. Like, no one's gonna be rooting for you there. So I don't know. I'm not worried.
Like that.
I'm not worried. I just have seen this coming for months now.
We've seen them get on the plane and rally around each other and win a game and take somebody's heart out. So, we want those Nuggets. So
we already mentioned it. We need the adjustments to be made, the shots to be hit, and the basketball gods to be on our side for the next 6 games.
That's right.
Well,
there you go.
The Nuggets will be taking on the Timberwolves tomorrow, I believe at 8:00 our time, so Mountain Standard Time. They will be going against Game 2. It will be at Ball Arena. Nuggets, let's go get a champ. Let's go get a win. Let's go get a win. Make this 1-1.
Get her done.
From the Just Nuggets podcast, my name is K.Kali. You can find us on Twitter at Just Nuggets Pod. Christoph Yalich, thank you again for another great episode.
Jay,
thank you for another great episode.
And as usual, go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.